Hey, I want to ask you a question, Stu.
Yes.
Why didn't I get included in that whole thing you were just saying that the Rev? I mean, am I chopped liver over here?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're the puppet master guiding the whole thing.
This place is way too thin for you to fit. I think that's the thing.
That's a taste of thin places. This week's episode of The Wise Guys, a podcast that unleashes the unthinkable in culture, religion, business, and everyday life. This week, the guys will introduce you to the benefits of clearing your mind so you can open your heart. So, it's time to step over the line, strap in, and see if you are willing to let Mac, the Rev, and Coach Stu take you to a place of thinking differently.
Okay, welcome to The Wise Guys, a podcast where we unleash the unthinkable and step over the line to help us see things differently and go to the inside edge. We hope that we'll speak not only to your ears, but to your spirit as well. So that's our mission tonight. But hi, I'm Mac, and I'm your host. In this episode, we're going to have so much fun with this. I mean, we've been talking about this for the last 45 minutes, almost an hour more probably together. We're going to talk about what we're calling thin places. And you may not, understand that term right now, but that's okay.
We're not talking about my hairline, right?
That's right.
The back of the head. It
won't be scary like being on thin ice, or okay, as the Rev is saying, right? Don't get worried. But it will, I hope, it will introduce you to the benefits of clearing your mind, so you can open your heart. All right. So that's a kind of our mission tonight. But we got my wise guys with me, Rev.
Good to be one of your guys. Good to see you, Mac.
Welcome.
And the coach is here, too.
And the coach is in the house,
I love
man.
being a wise guy. So cool. So fun. It's so fun.
Fits right in.
Hey, man. Are we the Three Stooges? Is that what just happened?
You caught the commentary.
Well, that might fit. Okay.
The Rev. I don't know. Which one is the Rev and which one is Mac? I don't know.
Well, I'm
and which
Larry.
one am I?
You're
Larry. That's right.
I'm all right with that, man. Okay.
Oh,
one of you guys can be Mo. All right. Let's see what happens.
Hey, Mo. Well, hey, let me say hello to all of you beautiful exotic cocktails out there.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, gang. Yeah.
Glad you're here. Glad you're with us.
Glad you're back with us.
Absolutely.
Back with us.
Yeah, back with us.
Of course.
Again and again and again.
Yeah. So
welcome.
Yes, welcome. Welcome to the gathering, guys and gals. All right. So, again, we've set the stage. But, of course, you know what we have to do to start with, right? I mean,
I'm ready for my rating.
We need some words to the wise. Don't we? So we might flip a little bit this week from last week, and that's okay. We're going to kind of vary this thing up and give us a little diversity. So here's the sign. Remember, we're talking about basically church signs. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so they're so entertaining. You can find all kinds of them out there. And so here's this week's church sign. Here's what it says. If you don't love God, go to hell.
Oh, boy.
How about that one? Okay. So what do you think about this sign, guys, my wise guys? Huh?
I thought about it when you sent this. It was like, I don't know what I'd think about it. Because I tried to crawl into the mindset of the guy or the gal who put that on that sign. What were they thinking? Because it was a -3 immediately.
Right.
-3, come on. You don't think the way I think and love God the way I love God, go to hell.
Uh-huh.
And then I thought, well, maybe that wasn't the mindset. Maybe that's my judgment of that sign, and I need to sit in the stillness of examining. Maybe there's a different intent.
Go to a thin place.
So I went up to a 0.
No, here we are, back to 0.
just get neutral about it. Okay?
Yeah,
I am present. I am.
All right.
I think that they left some words out of this.
Oh, all right. What would you add?
I think they ran out of those little letters that they put on the sign, and this is all they could come up with. So I think what it really says is if you don't love God, you will go to hell. I think is what it says. Because go to hell is kind of like in your face, like go to hell.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but if you're saying I mean, both ways for me, it's a -3.
Yeah, right.
But I think they left a couple of words out. The you will part. You will go to hell.
Could be. All right.
Pastor, what are we going to do? We're out of L's. Leave will out.
Well, go make something up then. Whatever works. Okay. So, yeah, for me, yes, it's a -3. And again, it's the kind of message that this is sort of the fire insurance message that a lot of churches will put on their marquee to, talk about Christianity. And again, I've written blog posts about this. I've talked about this, numerous times about, and Rob Bell, I kind of was thinking about the Rob Bell thing as we were going back and forth.
Yeah, love wins, right?
What kind of God is that?
Right.
That can't be good news,
Right.
So, to propagate this kind of attitude or this kind of faith or this kind of perspective, I just, I would offer a different perspective on the whole scenario, if you will, than that. That's all. I guess I'll end it right there.
I'll just say I believe in a different God than what this sign says.
There it is. That's probably a good way to describe it as well. Mm-hmm. I think so. So, okay, we got 3 -3s, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, 0. You went back to 0,
went to
Rev?
0, yeah.
I'm suspending my initial knee-jerk judgment and just going, okay, I want to try to understand.
Yeah, there must be something more going on here.
Wow,
All right,
okay.
you are so kind. You are just so kind. Me, I want to grab the guy by the throat and just kind of, shake him a little bit here. Okay, all right. So we got a -3, -3, and a 0.
Right.
All right, guys, so fun. All right, so thin places. Gosh, I've been looking forward to this episode really all week because I'm so charged up about the concepts here, and I think you really, if we can all just get this a little bit more, it's going to make a huge difference. So here we are. We're going to talk about thin places, and just to give you a little bit of kind of setup for this, I look at it sort of as the edge, and we talk about going to the inside edge, right? The edge between the real and the surreal. That you've got this, I don't want to call it a veil, but I want to, that it's that meeting point out there. Take you through the journey into the thin places and ponder the what, the why, and the how of the experience. That's really what we want to do today, is to just go on that journey. We have not yet evolved to look with wisdom upon the speed of the world. And I think there's another great point to make, that things are just, in all of history, are going way faster than we've ever had human capability to keep up with, and so we're frustrated. There's a lot of anxiety, all that kind of stuff. So
I think there's a low-grade depression happening.
Yeah.
The human race is running a low-grade depression, and we don't even know what it is. It's manifesting as anger and fear, but...
Yeah. No, hello. I think so, right? So there we are. So what is it?
Well,
Rev?
you got to.
Yeah.
You can't go somewhere if you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to just define the terms. And I had a couple of quotes. One I wrote in a talk many years ago to explain what it is. And a thin place, and I like the word veil, by the way.
Okay.
It's a place where the veil that separates heaven and earth is lifted, and one is able to glimpse the glory of the universe. A place where the light is not all on the other side. It's a place where the merging of the human and the spiritual. And I say a thin place can be the center of the cross, the human and the divine meeting there. It can be a holy place, an encounter on earth. It could be within you. But I just love this poet, Stephen Wheeler, who said this: a thin place is where two worlds collide, where the ethereal and the material tenderly kiss and coincide, and where a coalescence of spirit and body may be sealed, where you lose yourself and you find your soul.
Wow.
It's a journey everybody's looking for. I want to find my soul, my purpose, my reason for being, what I truly am. And a thin place, either a location somewhere or it's an experience that we have, is that place where we get a glimpse of our own soul and a glimpse of God.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I define it. What do you guys think?
All right. I like the one part of go, okay, I love that kiss part. That was very good. That was good.
I was trying to think about something in my life that would have this feeling, like a thin place feeling, right? Not a location, but just like the feeling of it. right?
Yeah.
Because I get there could be locations.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Right.
I have lots of friends that I go to Sedona to feel the vortex, or I go to Machu Picchu, or I go to Stonehenge, and they have an experience there with God, but you don't have to travel
For
there to
sure.
get there.
Whenever I hike and camp in the North Georgia mountains, and there isn't any man-made noises, and my phone doesn't work because we're out of range. I mean, that for sure is a thin place.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to imagine, and this is what I came up with, was this. You know that place between when you're asleep and when you're awake?
Yeah.
That place when you still, so think about this. That place when you still remember dreaming.
Oh, yeah.
Right between sleep and awake.
Okay.
Like that. That's how I visualize this.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can't always stay there, because it's like, if I go back to sleep, I go back to sleep. If I'm awake, I'm awake and I'm out of it. So it's that.
Right.
It's that you can't, and I can't even control that I'm in it, but it's happened a lot for me.
Is it that place where the ego hasn't quite taken back control when you've woken up, and it's like you're in that mystical little window where it's like everything is magical and beautiful, and the ego hasn't taken control yet?
Yeah.
Well, there's an ego.
Those are always the places where I remember my dreams. So what I have to do if I want to keep whatever happened in that thin place alive, like I literally have like a notebook by my bed, like I'll write it down. And I may go right back to sleep, or I may wake up, but if I don't write it down immediately, it's gone.
Well, either that or I get the 3 a.m. text.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
that's right. 3 a.m. It happens a lot for me at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Ding. Okay, Stu must be pondering. Okay.
But I think it's a mystical experience of the divine, of God, but whatever name you want to give that essence of life itself. It's a mystical that surpasses explanation.
Yeah.
Human explanation. I'm feeling something and I don't know why I'm feeling this, but it's good and it's holy.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think it is.
Well, and it's hard to describe. I mean, we're doing our best here. We're trying to give some analogies. We're trying to give some explanation. But at the end of the day, it's a mystery. You know, that I think Rev hit it on there, that at the very best explanation we start with is it's one of those divine encounters, right? That we're going to encounter the divine in a unique way that you can't do other ways, per se. Not that any of the other ways are bad, but you know, this whole getting to the thin places is going to set you up for those encounters better. I don't know.
And I know we're going to get into what it might require of us, but I think I mentioned the ego. You've got to give up control. To be in that place, you don't have control because you're anchored to a finite human reality.
Right.
And you have to be open to the mystery, to the unpredictable, to what God, all notions of God are suspended so you can be open to receive.
What's your mug say, Stu?
Wise realizes that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
So this may take you to an uncomfortable place as well.
Right.
Yep. So, keep that in mind. We might get into that a little bit deeper as we go on. But, the essence of these thin places, I'm going to use some quotes, it's a Celtic tradition and was carried on very much, in the Dark Ages and even into the Middle Ages, where, they were very in tune, very connected with the earth, with, whether it's the water, the sky, the rocks, and they saw and they, really embraced nature, sort of whispering to them. Again, you can't do that if you're just got your monkey brain going,
In the Celtic tradition, I found is heaven and earth are only 3 feet apart, but in the thin places, that distance is even smaller.
There we go. There it is. I mean, it's this whole thing about putting yourself in closer proximity. And again, that you can define it lots of different ways, whether it's physical or whether it's mental or whatever. But we operate at a level, most of us, that is fairly distant from that in a normal sense, just as we live in our life and we're doing our thing. So, it's an encouragement to go into these places that help you exhale, that help you encounter, that help you grow, that help you gain wisdom.
So it must require intention. You've got to have an intention to go to that place. If you don't want to go to that place, there's no intention to go there. You're not going to experience the thin place.
I don't care where you go, right?
Purposeful.
Yeah.
I'm purposely seeking a greater experience of God, and I must be mindful about why I'm doing it.
Oh,
Why do we do it? I don't know. Anybody got an answer for why we do it, Coach?
Well, before we talk about that, I just wanted to comment on what you just said. I mean, that's a positive outlook, and I love that about you, Rev. I mean, I think like that too. But you could be thrust into a thin place.
Yeah.
Right? It could be found in grief, loss, right?
Yeah.
You could find it like at a funeral. I mean, it could be found where you're kind of navigating near-death experiences.
True.
I mean,
True.
so you can have, and I'm not going to necessarily say those are negative experiences, but they're different than what you were describing.
Yeah, well, by right of consciousness, that negative, then I've said this a number of times on the podcast, I am the person I am, not because of the joyous moments, but because of the dark nights of my soul when I was on my knees. So I think you're absolutely right. By right of my consciousness, my deep grief can be an avenue to find God.
For sure. Yeah.
Hey, I want to ask you a question,
Yeah.
Stu.
Yes.
Why didn't I get included in that whole thing you were just saying that the Rev? I mean, you know, am I chopped liver over here?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're the puppet master guiding the whole thing.
This place is way too thin for you to fit. I think that's the thing.
Oh gosh, I'm squirming over here, man. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
So what do we?
Why do we do it? Right?
Yeah.
Why do we?
Okay.
Why do we do it? Well, the Rev mentioned this earlier. We're in a state of, there's a state of depression going on, and it's because we're on. To me, it's because everybody's operating on a hamster wheel right now. We're just running,
I like that analogy.
and not getting anywhere. But you get up.
Yeah.
And you get on the wheel, and boom, boom, boom. You go, and then it's time to go to bed. Boom, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
What just happened in my life and in my day? And we're not paying attention, and we just can't keep up with everything going on in life. Maybe it's because there's too much on your plate. Maybe too much gets thrust at you.
Yeah.
I mean, so because of this, we don't get to spend. Many people don't get a chance to spend time with God or with spirit. So we're just spiritually bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Or just even in the silence. You were talking about the hamster wheel. I know people that they don't get off the hamster wheel when they go to sleep. It's the mind is still driving things and going, and it's like they have no rest, they have no silence and stillness in their life. They can't even find God if they can't even get still.
Right. This is true. This, I mean, in all honesty, for me, this happens a lot, and I have to literally distract my mind to be able to get to sleep some nights. Mm-hmm. I mean, to your point, like I can't just sit there in the still of the night. Because you're right, the brain starts going. Right? Yeah. I know. I was ready to hit a 50s song. I was like,
oh gosh,
let's see if we can hit the harmony. That would be awesome. So yeah. I mean that's I don't know. It's like we all just need to. Okay, Rogers, listen to me, please hear me out. We all need just to slow down.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all just going at the speed of light too fast.
Right.
I mean, I love how Mac will put it, like going Mach 5 or Mach 6 with your hair on fire. Like that's how that's how we operate life.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, and when you do that, you miss so much. I mean, you miss everything.
I'd be curious, Mac, because you do go 100 miles an hour. You're always getting stuff done and making things happen, but you're deeply spiritual too. And what is your balance between those two worlds? You have to draw a balance to get to that place of seeking the thin place, being the thin place, even in your very fast-paced world. Why do you do it?
Well, the why says to me that if I get caught up in it, then I really lose perspective. Then it's me being reactive almost all the time to everything else that's going on around me.
It's tough to live that way, right?
Oh gosh,
just reacting to everything.
Man, you'll spin like a top, and so for me, regardless, I make a commitment that says, look, I know A, B, and C, and D, and E, and whatever. I'm spinning all these other plates. But this time, I used to say to people, and this, I was much for myself as for anybody else, because I don't want to say like I've arrived. If it turns out that you are committed to your spirituality, to connecting, to going to the thin places, to becoming more, to getting wise, then if you don't allocate any time, like none, you're just, life is driving it, okay? Everything in your life. Then what are you really saying to the universe, or to, if you believe in God, to God, what are you saying to God? Everything else in my life, everything is more important
than you, right?
That's ego, right. The acronym EGO, ego, yep. Edging God out.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but there it is. Yeah. Perfect.
But so you've got an intention there.
Yes.
God is your priority. The sense of well-being and connection to the universe is your priority over all the stuff on the plates you're spinning.
That's it. It's more than zero, and hopefully more than that even, as time goes along. We're going to do an episode, I guarantee it, on the more than zero thing.
We have to. There's good stories behind that. Right?
I've used that since I met you guys.
I don't want to bypass it. For a moment here, it to me, it's what allows me to spend time with God, whereas before I didn't, because I didn't feel like I had enough time to spend with Him. And then I realized, okay, it could be a second. Literally, it could be just a quick thought, or it could be something I do or feel. It could be longer. 30 minutes could be an hour. It could be all day.
Right.
Gandhi said, I have such a busy day before me, I have to take an extra hour to meditate. And I find that when I don't take the time, I don't have enough time. And when I do take the time, suddenly time expands. How did I get all this done? All because I took the time to partner with something greater than me.
I love that.
To look for a thin place, even if it's as close as just, I took a breath.
Yeah. 10 seconds, something like that.
Right, yeah.
Again, it all works together, and starting with an intention, a commitment, not just a thought, but you're going to have to put it one more step, and you're going to have to say, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. It starts with a thought, but.
So, Mac, I got one more why you should do it.
All right. I'm listening.
How about renewing you ready for this? I'm going to sound really smart right now. How about renewing your ecclesia, which in the Bible means church, but it's not like a building church. It's just a gathering. So how about renewing that gathering? It could be that you go to a building. I don't want to exclude that. It could be that. But, for me, it's up in the mountains. It's, sometimes it's when I gather with my team. At tournaments with people that I want to be around. Whatever it may be. This might sound strange, but to me, it happens at funerals because my family is so big. I get to see them all, and it's amazing.
Right.
We're celebrating a life, and I get to see everybody and hang out with the people that are here still that I can spend time with.
Well, and love on them. And, all of that. All that energy.
And we reconnect, and that's
sense
an
of
amazing
community.
Place to be.
And I think that's what's missing from the planet. The depression that we talked about earlier is because we are missing connection with each other.
Yeah, I'm harboring
And so
it.
why do you go to a thin place? I'm going to say my answer is because I owe it to my community. So I'm bringing it to rebuilding the church. I'm rebuilding the community, that the thinner I am, the more possibility of that thin experience of God, that close experience of God is for everybody around me.
Yeah.
So there's a sense of responsibility in addition to just doing it for myself.
Sure.
Here's what happens.
I love that.
I do too.
That's the communal thing.
And here's what happens when you do that. Somebody around you then, they may not say it out loud, but they're thinking, man, I don't know what it is about the Rev, but I got to be around him.
I want something.
I want what he's had.
I got to be more. Yeah, I got to be around.
I say that about you. I say it about Mac too, actually.
Thank you very much. Well, I think that's a mutual thing here.
That's
sure.
I strive. It's going to sound funny to say this. I strive to be that person, but I can't wake up and say, I'm going to be that person. You know what I mean? There's other things in your life you have to do to all of a sudden, you're that guy that they're like, wow, I just want to be around him. Right. You're that person, whoever, I like being around him. I feel good, or something's different when I'm around that person.
Right.
And what's wonderful is an exponential increase. You affect one person. That person now is a little bit higher off the ground, a little bit closer to God. And they're now affecting two other people and two more people. And that's how we save the world.
And so on and so on.
And so, well, we talk about the me and the we a lot, and it's really, really important because it's great for each individual to go to a place, and you can't really kind of help anybody else get to some place you've never been, right? I mean, it's harder.
Is there an immediate we when you go find the thin place? Because it's not just you, your personality. You're connecting with God.
Yeah, well,
I'm reminded of, was it Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin? And he said, I heard this is my favorite time. And Christopher Robin said, what's that? And he says, when you and me become we. And is that ultimately the thin place when there is the one that is you and God in total partnership and communion, and then you bring that back to the world and have communion, whether it be at a funeral, whether it be walking the forest, your communion with the trees. It's a complete sense of oneness, but there's a we-ness there.
Sure. Whoa.
That's amazing.
I like that.
I can't remember the person's name, but whoever wrote Winnie the Pooh, they're a wise guy. They are definitely a wise
for
guy.
sure.
Oh, yeah. Just like the guy that does Calvin and Hobbes. I mean, there's incredible amount of wisdom there. I see that every day. All right. Gosh, that's some really good, heady, and yet spiritual, nuggets.
But I don't know how to do it. How do I do it, Mac?
Well, I guess we need to come back after the break and just jump into that, huh?
That would be fun.
Come back if you want to know how to do it.
That's right.
All right. So we're going to take a little break here. And we're going to just chew on that whole thing and ponder it a bit. And we'll be right back to go to the how do you do it? Thanks. We'll be right back.
Like what you hear so far? Join us in the Rogue Nation by going to our website, gorogue.life, where you will find links to our social media and podcast channels and a way to subscribe to all our happenings. We encourage you to become a member of our cafe, where you can interact with us and fellow roguers and keep the conversation going. Please share us and like us. Now, let's get back to our Wise Guys.
Okay, welcome back to the Wise Guys podcast, where in this episode we are talking about thin places. Thin places. And it's been pretty exciting so far. We've talked about what is it? What are they? Why do you even want to go there? I mean, what's the purpose? Why should you even, get up in the morning and even think about this kind of stuff? And now we're going to, talk the rest of the episode for the most part about, well, okay, if you're nodding in the right direction, if you're going, well, okay, all right, I'm getting this. This makes sense. What do I do? How do I do it? What are the things that I can begin purposefully to do that can help, me go to these places? So what I want to do is I want to play a clip from one of my favorite guys. I mean, we study this guy all the time. We talk about him all the time. This is Father Richard Rohr. And I'm not even going to give him much of a lead in here other than tell you who it is. And just let's just start this part of the episode with him. All right, hang on.
Sacrament of the present moment. Remember that? That if you can encounter the presence, it's all about presence. And that's what we just celebrated, real presence. And when you're present, and when you know how to be present, you'll know what you need to know. Now, here's what I got to tell you. And some of you are going to fight me on it, I'm sure. But you can't be present with your mind. You can't. Maybe you just have to take my word for it now. The mind can only do two things. It can worry about the future, and it can reprocess the past over and over and over and over and over again. And most people are in one or the other or both of those camps.
That's my man. Okay. So I thought it was really interesting. You're probably going to fight me on this, right? You're probably going to fight me on this, but the mind can only go so far, right? And we've been talking about this, right? What can the mind do? I mean, how does the mind come into the equation? It's certainly part of it, right? What have you guys been talking about when it comes to the mind, right? What Like, what are we thinking about?
So is the intention and the purpose we talked about in the mindfulness earlier just to get you to the edge? You've got to eventually let it go and put it down. I'm reminded of St. Paul, who said something, I believe, in 1 Corinthians, that spiritual things must be spiritually discerned.
Correct.
If you want to find the spiritual, you're not going to get there through your mind. You're going to get there through the spirit.
Right.
And so I think that starts with the how to do it is get comfortable with your own spirit. Have any kind of practice that points you in the direction of the spirit and gets you out of your mind for a while.
Right. Wow,
that's a tough thing to do. I mean, have you ever tried just to sit in silence?
Yes.
And when things come into your mind, say, okay, thank you, move on. And I mean, I feel like the whole time, that's all I'm doing. Just telling these thoughts to move on. I mean, there may be a moment where I get a second of, okay, nothing was there.
Right.
But then, boom, something's right back in there.
But here's the cool part. That's way it's that way for everybody in the beginning, you know? But if you have a practice, there's where the mind comes in. I'm going to go do this, right? I'm going to go to my thin place. I'm going to go to the silence. And then, yes, my monkey brain might only quiet for 2 seconds, okay? I heard this one time, and they were in a seminar and talking about contemplative prayer, because that's kind of what we're talking about here, getting yourself into a place that you can go to contemplation without your brain, messing with you. And so this guy was giving a seminar. I think it was Thomas Merton. He was giving the talk on this, and this woman came up to him and she said, Father, I try this whole thing. This is what Stu was saying. I try this whole thing, and my mind goes to 1,000 different places all the time. And here's what he said. I thought this was so cool. He looked back at her and said, fantastic. You get 1,000 opportunities to turn your heart and your mind back toward God.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I was like, oh, my gosh.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it's a perspective on the whole thing. Of course, that's part of the process. But if you do it more and more and more, those moments get longer.
I'm reminded, before I got into any meditation, I had no religious upbringing at all, but I would sit across, in my grandparents' yard, the railroad track was across the highway, and I would sit there and I'd count the cars, the railroad cars, and somebody just said, count the spaces between the cars. And I said, well, that's crazy, ridiculous, you can't do that, it's 10 times harder, and it is difficult. But I got, as a kid, before I'd ever had any meditation, to just be focusing on that second, that little brief blip on the train going by, and I found that I could find the spaces and begin to be present with the spaces and not count the cars. Now, that took years and years and years, but as a kid, I didn't even know I was preparing myself for meditation.
Well, there it is. Yeah.
So don't curse the 1 second where it was complete silence.
Yeah.
Silence is not the absence of sound.
Yeah.
It is not the absence of chaos or even thought. It's the awareness that the Father and I are one. That's where Jesus was pointing us.
I think that'll preach.
I think so.
That's the Rev's line.
No, I do not take that. They're going to get stuck down here.
You can't take the Rev's line. Come on, Mac. Well, when this has happened for me, has been in my creative moments. Like, I'm fortunate to be a pretty creative person. One way is, I don't even know if you guys know this about me, but I used to be a pretty good artist. So
no, I don't think you've ever mentioned that to me.
And such, yeah. But I'm a musician.
Okay,
you guys know that.
Yeah.
And I've experienced a state where, in both regards, like when I was doing art when I was younger, but especially with music, because I've done that a lot longer in my life, where time just seemed to disappear. Like it was just gone. And I felt connected to something kind of beyond myself. I don't even know if I can describe it any other way. And that's amazing. Now, trying to replicate that for me is a challenge, because when it happens, it just happens.
Yep.
But it's amazing when it does.
Yeah. Well,
it's the word trying.
Yeah.
What would Yoda say about that?
Yeah,
it's just letting and allowing and being. And I found moments where not only time disappears. If I'm at the piano and I'm in the middle of a song that's just touching me, I disappear. And I think the reason a lot of us don't go there is we're living in that fear. I don't want to lose myself. But I tell you, when you lose yourself in music, it's transcendent, and it's as holy as any sanctuary I've ever been in.
I'm just trying to give the Roger some examples because that's amazing. You know, I mean, that's one way, but maybe not everybody's, a musician or an artist or something like that. But another time that this has happened for me is when I've been speaking. So anybody and I'm not just necessarily talking about speaking in front of like a big audience, but if I'm giving I'm a coach, right? I give speeches all the time. Right. It could be with an individual, it could be with a few people.
Yeah.
And there are times where I've talked and I go to that place where time just seemed to disappear and I'm done and I walk away and I pull somebody that was there. I said, "Hey, what'd I just say?" Because I have no idea. It was like, that's one of those moments. Yep. That's like one of those thin places.
Well, I was just going to say there's a thin place.
That's a thin place right there. So I point that out because I think people out there, I think everyone that's listening has this happen, but they didn't know that's what it was called.
Sure.
That's what it is when that happens.
I say return to the mountain. That moment in time, that place you went, that experience you had where you knew peace beyond anything, that it surpassed all understanding, or a joy. Go back to that place, not only externally, but go to that place within you because it's there. Right. It's still in you.
Sure.
And spend some time there.
Yeah.
And it may be a few seconds, but a few seconds becomes 10 seconds, becomes a minute.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And you enjoy that development. You know, Stu's the coach. You start out day one, the first session that you have, the first, workout, everything else. It's way different than the one 3 months from then. I mean, there's a process involved and you have to stay with it. You have to be consistent. Again, not necessarily, but this might work, okay, for 10 minutes a day, I'm going to do X. Now, some people will diss that and say, well, that's legalistic and that's putting it on your thing. And you know what? Whatever. But it's got to be more than zero. So whatever takes you to that place, do it. All right. Just do it. All right. We've talked about this before. A guy taught this to me years and years and years ago. One of my good friends, he says, listen to me. You will do what you want to do. and there was so much simplicity in that. Yeah. I'm like, it's got to be more complicated than that, but not really. You think about in your own life, if you've made a resolve to something, for the most part, you've done it. Everybody's a little different, but when you focus on it and set the intention for it and you're committed to it, whatever it is, chances are typically you did it.
Or there's a payoff for having not done it.
All right. Well,
because not everybody, I don't know if I completely, totally agree. Yeah. I want, I use this analogy. There's 3 frogs sitting on a log, and they all want to jump in. They all are intending to jump in.
Intending to jump in.
Well, exactly.
Okay.
But there's no action to it. 2 of them jump in. But the one is just sitting there intending, I want to do it. You don't really want to do it. You don't
well, there's
really
a difference
want
there.
to
Okay.
jump in. There's a lot of people, you want to do it.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, they're going to do it. Well, maybe you don't really want to do it because there's a payoff for staying on the log.
Well, I'll go with that in the one sense, but I do think too that if the frog really wanted to do it, you do it.
And I'm saying, go surround yourself with people who really want to do it. That's how I find the how to do it is to find people who are doing it. Surround yourself and create a community of people who are doing. How do you find that thin place? Interview them.
Yeah.
I want what you're having. Well, then ask about that.
Wow.
And then go, can I spend some time with you?
Yeah.
That's why I'm hanging around at this table.
In spite of ourselves, right? Yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of how Stu and I started out years and years and years ago. We just wanted to hang.
And you guys don't stay on the log. You jump in.
That's for sure.
I don't know if that made any sense.
If we're on the log, we're running on it, so it's spinning, and we're like, "Woo, this is good. This is fun."
Now we're going the opposite way. Now we're going this way. Yeah, there's been those times for sure. So,
well, the thing what I'm hearing is you need to pay attention. To just what's going on around you.
I think that's
like.
the key.
Let me give you a real world example that people do every single day. Mm-hmm. I would say most people every day talk to somebody, right? Mm-hmm. So you're in a conversation, and the other person is talking. And what are you doing the whole time? You're formulating what you're going to say.
Yeah, what am I going to say next?
Yeah, so you're not even really listening to them.
Yeah.
You're truly not present and not there. You're thinking, okay, what am I going to say? And, I don't want to forget that. And you're like putting, right? So like to truly be present. And I had to do this in a workshop once, sitting down, talking with somebody, not formulate what I was going to say and just really be there and listen to them. So I challenge everyone to try to do this.
Sure.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But you can do it. You practice enough. What do I talk about all the time? You got to practice these things.
Well, that's right.
That's a practice of mindfulness. But the definition of mindfulness is paying attention to what you're paying attention to. And that's a great way to practice.
And when you do it, you are in a thin place because you're present.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great lead-in, Rev.
All right. Well, we want to thank all the Rogers for tuning in here and spending some time in the playground here of us wise guys. And so our challenge to you is your ongoing mission, should you choose to accept it, is decide to go rogue. Find like-minded roguers and strap on the armor. Storm the gates and unleash the unthinkable.
You just got me motivated, Rev. I don't know about anybody else.
That's great. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I was trying to do that as well as you do it. I don't know. I was in my head. I wasn't a thin place.
I thought that was pretty good. You got me all stoked up. All right. So there we are, guys. And Rogers, thanks so much for listening this week. I've super enjoyed not only kind of putting this together and have each of us do our own thing and ponder it, but doing it together too is just so good. So thanks, guys.
You know why? Because together is
better. There we are. Drop the mic right there. So again, thanks for listening this week. We ask you to just tell all your friends about us and interact with us. We'd love to hear from you as we just expand, and we keep expanding, and it keeps growing, which is fantastic. So catch us next week. We'll have some more goodies. Maybe
Jump off the log. Come on in. The water's fine.
That's it. Just not just think about it, but do it.
Do it.
So there we are. So all right, guys.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Take care. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.
Wow, you made it and can now unbuckle. Thanks for listening to Thin Places, a conversation about going to the edge between the real and the surreal. Remember to visit the website at gorogue.life for lots of follow-up information, see the show notes for any links to episode content, and check out the Seeing Differently blog. Oh, and of course, tell everyone you know about us and like, follow, and engage. Be sure to tune in next week when Mac unleashes another unthinkable conversation. That is, if you dare.